The man who never makes mistakes is the man who never does anything. Welcome to Maverick-Minute. Today's student shout out goes to Nate Trammell. He is an excellent student and very respectful. I'd also like to give mention to Emma Hancock and Alyssa Hancock. They work every day on their family's dairy farm. They also have a farm store there at the Hancock Dairy. Those girls are up early in the morning and working through late afternoon. And as everyone knows, there are no vacations on dairy farms, and we appreciate and are inspired by their hard work. Finally, today's video is dedicated to the class of 2020. We're very proud of your accomplishments and are looking forward to your upcoming graduation. Congratulations, guys. I'd like to share a Mark Twain quote with you. Good judgment is the result of experience, and experience the result of bad judgment. Throughout your life, though you may make mistakes, just know that that's not the end, that there's always something to learn from mistakes, and that's truly how we grow as people. Congratulations, class of 2020. Weaned calves, green grass, and value-added protocols. Join us today as we discuss preconditioning cattle. Before we go into today's lesson, I want to follow up on our first episode that we were looking at plant identification of common pasture weeds. And I think that everyone knew what thistle looked like and what they look like when they're mature. Behind me, you can see some very mature poison hemlock that unfortunately I missed while we were spraying this spring, and now it's too late. As you can see, it has come to full bloom. It has a white flower. It gets more than 6 feet tall, which really distinguishes it against Queen Anne's lace. Remember, this plant is poisonous to livestock and humans, so you want to do your best efforts to manage it. When you drive through Lawrence and Greene County, you'll see tremendous amounts of poison hemlock along the road ditches, and that's a pretty good place to start your management. If you can see it and find it, it's easy to get to in the road ditch, and then from there you can sharpen your skills as to locating it throughout your pasture, hopefully before it reaches the mature state. I'm going to bring a piece of hemlock closer to the camera, and you can hopefully see some of the white flowers, and you can see the distinctive kind of a fern type of leaf appearance that it has, and we can also get a better image of the stains on the stem of poison hemlock. Secondly, it is the 3rd of June, and if you look close to the ground, a lot of our warm season plants are starting to show up. Poison hemlock is a cool season plant, and we can prove that because as our soil temperature is warming and so is our environmental conditions, these cool season plants are finishing their life cycle. They're accomplishing their goal, producing seed. Now we shift our focus to some of the warm season plants that are in our pasture, and we're going to talk about ragweed. That's a nasty weed that causes people allergy problems. We have common and giant ragweed here on the farm in various places, and there's a third type called lance leaf. If we take a quick look, this is the appearance of common ragweed. You'll notice that when you compare it with poison hemlock, the leaves kind of look similar. However, poison hemlock on my left, which would be your right, seems to have more detail in the leaf structure, especially on the leaf margin. Remember, the margin is the border of the leaves. As you look at ragweed, it's a more defined leaf and the structure seems to be bigger, but there's not as much intricate detail in the leaf margin pattern itself. The problem with all species of ragweed is that they are tremendous thieves of water and soil nutrients, and ragweed will additionally create a large canopy, and it will shade out other good beneficial pasture plants, prevent them from going, and also soak up all of your water. If you let ragweed go, it doesn't take long for it to completely take over a field. It will look like you literally have a crop of ragweed, and we want to avoid that. All of these plants are easy to manage. The cheapest way is probably the chemical 2,4-D, and the most effective way is probably the chemical Graze On Next or Duracor. Those chemicals oftentimes can be twice the price of your common 2,4-D low vol concentrations. However, Graze On Next, HL, and Duracor both have residual capabilities. They're able to actually stay in the soil after you apply them and kill plants for, I believe, up to 6 weeks after you spray. If you compare that with 2,4-D, if I spray a plant today, that's all I'm getting out of the chemical. I'm not gonna get residual control. If another plant sprouts up right next to what I killed, I'll have to apply 2,4-D again. So you can do the math pretty quickly. If you anticipate you're gonna be doing a lot of respraying work, you're probably better off to pay twice the price to get more than twice the benefit. It will kill plants for 6 weeks and hopefully save you from having to reapply herbicide. If you're spot spraying only, 2,4-D is probably the way to go. It can be a very cheap option. Preconditioning is a program that we utilize on cattle farms to help improve the health and carcass quality of the calves that we raise every year. Typically, preconditioning programs happen after the calves have been weaned, as in our last couple of episodes. Those calves have been separated from their mothers and they're now on a diet of strictly forage and also this supplemental feed that you can see behind me on the ground. One thing about preconditioning programs, it's not intended to get cattle on feed. This just happens to be a beneficial byproduct of utilizing the program. Just like in people, when we feed them better, they perform better. As you look behind me, this lush pasture is providing the needs of these cattle. We're moving calves from every paddock every day, so they're getting brand new grass, and additionally, they're getting between 5 and 6 pounds per head per day of this preconditioning ration. When we have cattle that have been through a preconditioning program, they've had several rounds of vaccinations, and also they have this feed source that's a supplement to them, and that helps increase their immune system's ability. Whenever they move on to the backgrounding lot and feedlot operation, they can deal with stressors and different pathogens without health complications. Let's take a look at what this feed ration actually is. We source this one from Main Street Feeds in Springfield, Missouri. They're on Old 66. And the perk of this ration, it's not a fancy high-powered feed by any means. It is a commodity blend, and it's quite a bit more affordable in my opinion. Let's take a look at what we're feeding these calves. So here we've got our feed mix. The first ingredient we're gonna look at is one of the larger particles, maybe not the largest, and that would be cracked corn. The general rule of thumb is if you can purchase cracked corn for less than 10% more than you can purchase shelled corn, that's a pretty good buy. It helps with the digestibility. This feed is 1/3 cracked corn. Our next component is truly the largest particle. These little guys represent soy hull pellets, and they are also an equal third of this ration, which pretty much gives away what our final component is. And I'm not going to be able to sift all the large particles off, but as you look at this handful, you can see a much more powdery substance that's brown near where my thumb is at, and that is DDG's dried distiller's grain, also known as brewer's grain, and that's what's left over after beer and products like that have been distilled and manufactured. Those grains are left over in the tanks and they take them somewhere. We feed them to our cattle. They have a pleasant aroma, and overall this is an attractive feed. You can see our calves are cleaning it up today. Again, it is 1/3 cracked corn, 1/3 soy hull pellets from soybean meal, and it's also 1/3 DDG's dry distiller grain. So let's talk about dollars and cents with this feed and the preconditioning program. That feed that we've already looked at costs 10.6 cents a pound. For easy math, let's say that it costs us 11 cents a pound to have this custom mixed and bagged. If you can have it delivered to your farm in bulk, meaning you have a grain handling facility and you've got a feeder that you can dispense it with, that's the way to go. It's a lot less labor than taking these bags out every day. I would recommend that. We're at an 11-cent pound worth of feed, and we are feeding 5 to 6 pounds of feed per head per day. That's about the threshold you want to push them so you don't worry about getting too much excess flesh on these animals. At 66 cents per animal per day, we can expect to gain at least 1 pound of beef. Right now, if you look at the feeder cattle prices, you can expect to get $1.50 minimum for a pound of beef. So every day you can come out here to each one of these calves and you can give them 66 cents worth of feed, and they're gonna give you back $1.50 worth of beef. Here's where it gets cool. You can do this for the next 45 or 60 days with every animal in your pen. Go up, give them 66 cents of feed, receive $1.50 back as many times as the amount of calves you have and for the total amount of days that you precondition them. That gives us great value when we look at their health performance and their ability to reach their genetic potential. At the end of the day, we are selling pounds of beef as cattle producers, and this is a good tool that hopefully fits your toolbox. So today we've looked at some common pasture weed ID that we wish we didn't have those plants on the farm. We have looked at preconditioning programs and what that ration looks like, and hopefully it's something that can be used on your operation. To recap some of the high notes of preconditioning programs, these programs allow us to utilize less medication to treat problems in our cattle. When we use less medication, we have less injection site lesions. We have less labor utilized in the backgrounding and feedlot sector. We'll have less death loss, higher valued carcasses, which improves our paycheck. Additionally, we get to claim that these animals are bunk broke. You can look and they're used to coming up to feed. They'll be used to it when it comes in a bunk. They're not gonna stand in the corner of the lot. Look at these flies, this is the real deal. They're not gonna stand over in the feed lot and lose weight. They're gonna be at the bunk gaining weight as they're intended to for the person that purchases these cattle. We receive a premium because they are bunk broke calves. Preconditioning is helpful for calves right after weaning. If you can get them on feed, we all know that calves are going to shrink a little bit. They're going to lose some weight due to the stressful process of weaning. If you can provide for them pasture and some supplemental feed that goes a long way, it's like giving the kid their vitamins the first couple of weeks of school. It helps them out just a tick. I'm not going to say it transforms your cattle overnight, but it does make a difference, and we know an ounce of prevention can be worth a pound of cure. It's great when we can see that happening with our livestock. I should point out that if you utilize creep feeding programs, preconditioning may not be for you, because when you combine the feed that's already in front of those calves due to your creep feeding process plus the feed they're going to receive at preconditioning time after they're weaned, you have a high risk of putting too much flesh on your animals. You probably should choose to do one or the other. Here at our place, we try and make sure that the cow does the work, that the forages feed the cow to feed our calves. Once we wean them, we're all about giving them the supplement that they need to help them grow, to perform, to meet their genetic potential prior to our marketing at the value-added sale at Joplin Regional Stockyards. A final point, it's known scientifically that when you don't go the full 45 days minimum of a preconditioning program, if you're actually at day 30, and it's time for them to be sold, you haven't gone long enough, and you will have significantly higher disease issues and performance issues with those calves, both on your place and when they move on to the next sector. And we all know that when feedlot buyers and backgrounders purchase cattle that don't perform, they remember where they came from. And we want to be sure that you and I both produce cattle that are quality, that can actually perform and walk the walk when they go to the next sector. On this hot June day, we're pleased that you've ran with us. This has been another Maverick Minute.